My jealous sister-in-law's plan to poison me backfired. Now she's paying the ultimate price. I never thought my husband's sister would try to poison me, but life has a way of surprising you. I'm 31, and I've been married to my husband for 8 years. Our marriage is perfect except for one thing, his sister Rachel. When I first met Rachel, she seemed nice. But over time, I saw her true colors. She's negative, manipulative, and toxic. I tried hard to stay on her good side because I knew what she was capable of. She would smile at your face but then spread rumors behind your back. I saw her do this to other family members, but they just accepted it as, that's just how Rachel is. Before me, my husband dated Rachel's friend in high school. They broke up because he felt pressured into the relationship by Rachel. When he was 25 and single, Rachel tried to set him up with another friend. When he refused, she threw a fit and complained to their parents about wanting him to marry someone she approved of. Their parents didn't listen to her drama. I found out about this history early in our relationship, and it made me wary of her from the start. When my husband and I met and fell in love, his parents supported us completely. They welcomed me into their family and made me feel at home. But Rachel? She gave me the cold shoulder and constantly brought up his exes. She would tell him how well they were doing and suggest he should reconnect with them. My husband found this weird too and asked her to stop. This made her angry, and she started calling me insecure. She would corner me at family gatherings and make snide comments about how I wasn't good enough for her brother. At family dinners, Rachel would accidentally invite his exes. She did this 5 times in the first year of our relationship. She stalked my social media, even though she didn't follow me. I have a public account, and she was always the first to view my stories. If any guy commented on my photos, even my male cousins, she would run to her brother claiming I was posting inappropriate pictures. It got so bad that my husband started laughing at her accusations because they were so ridiculous. When we decided to move in together, Rachel urged my husband to break up with me. She said I had many flaws and that she could find someone much better. This hurt because I had only been nice to her. I helped her move apartments, listened to her relationship problems, and even defended her when other family members complained about her behavior. But nothing was ever enough for Rachel. Our engagement really set her off. When we announced it at a family dinner, everyone was excited and happy for us. Rachel sat quietly, her face getting redder by the minute. Then she suddenly stood up and walked out, making a scene. Later that night, she called my husband crying and screaming about how she should have been told first since she was the closest to him. Then she sent me this weird message saying I better be a good wife since she had always been the only woman in his life. I left her message on read, which probably made her even angrier. The wedding planning was a nightmare because of Rachel. She criticized everything, the venue, the food choices, the decorations, even the wedding date. She would show up uninvited to my meetings with vendors and try to change my decisions. While discussing centerpieces with my mother-in-law, she mocked my choices and said this was why she wanted her brother to marry someone better. I lost it that day. After months of taking her criticism, I finally snapped and uninvited her from the wedding. My mother-in-law supported me completely, saying she had watched Rachel's behavior get worse and worse. Rachel only apologized after my husband told her firmly that she wouldn't be invited otherwise. Her apology was clearly fake, but I accepted it to keep the peace. Looking back, I should have stood my ground about not wanting her at the wedding. She showed up to our pink and pastel-themed wedding wearing a black floor-length gown with a veil, telling everyone she was mourning losing her brother. When guests asked about her outfit, she made a big show of wiping away fake tears and saying how hard it was to watch her brother marry the wrong person. My husband confronted her, but she played victim, saying she could wear what she wanted. My in-laws finally asked her to leave when she wouldn't stop making scenes. She left dramatically, sobbing about how nobody understood her pain. When our son Tom was born, I put my foot down and kept Rachel away. She threw tantrums about her rights as an aunt, but my husband and in-laws understood completely. They had seen enough of her behavior to know she couldn't be trusted. 3 years ago, Rachel had a miscarriage with her boyfriend Marcus. It was a difficult time for her, and we felt bad despite everything she had done. We decided to be more forgiving and let her bond with Tom. She was surprisingly sweet to him at first, playing with him and bringing him gifts. But soon Rachel returned to her old ways. She constantly complained about her tough life, blamed others for her problems, and never admitted fault. Every conversation with her turned into a pity party about how unfair life was to her. She would tell stories about how her boss was mean to her, how her friends betrayed her, and how nothing ever worked out for her. But in every story, she was the victim and everyone else was wrong. This year, she got married but didn't invite us. When my husband asked her why his only sister would exclude him from her wedding, she said she was afraid I would dress inappropriately to upstage her like she did at our wedding. She didn't see the irony in her statement at all. My in-laws were furious and refused to pay for or attend her wedding until she apologized. She did, but only because she needed their money for the wedding. 5 months after her wedding, Rachel showed up at our door crying about marriage problems. Against my better judgment, we let her stay for a few days. She blamed Marcus for their fertility issues and wouldn't stop talking about it. When she wasn't complaining about her husband, she obsessed over our lives. She questioned why I took work clothes to the gym and changed there, asking too many personal questions about my routine. At the time, I thought she was just being nosy, but looking back, she was probably already planning something sinister. Things changed when my husband and I went to lunch with his parents. Rachel and Marcus were there too. We left Tom with a babysitter since these lunches usually ran long. During the meal, my mother-in-law was talking about her friend's divorce because her husband had cheated. Rachel suddenly interrupted and asked my husband if we had signed a prenup. Everyone at the table stopped eating and looked at her. She acted like I wasn't even there, staring at my husband for an answer. My husband told her straight up that since we both earned well, we didn't need a prenup. Rachel snorted and started talking about how there were many cheaters nowadays and he could be blindsided any day. When I asked what she was trying to say, she claimed I was definitely meeting someone since I always carried a change of clothes. She said it was her duty as his sister to warn him. Then she crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. She started joking about whether Tom was really my husband's son, since he didn't look exactly like him. I had never seen my husband so angry. His face turned red as he told Rachel that this was why she wasn't a mother yet. She didn't deserve to be one. He said her baby was better off in heaven than with someone like her. Rachel's mouth dropped open in shock. My in-laws sat quietly as my husband continued. He called her shameless, said she tried to ruin everything because she had nothing good in her life, and that she was just a loser married to someone who did nothing while her husband worked hard. He told her instead of asking about prenups, she should worry about her own marriage since she was clearly projecting. Rachel started crying and looked at Marcus for support, but he just sat there silently. She ran to the bathroom crying. My husband was still fuming. His mother came over to calm him down while I held his hand. He apologized to me about what Rachel said about our son. After he calmed down, he apologized to Marcus, but completely ignored Rachel. After that day, we cut contact with Rachel. We blocked her number and social media. Her behavior wasn't just affecting me anymore. It was hurting my husband too. His parents agreed that Rachel had gone too far this time. They saw how their usually calm son had completely lost it after Rachel pushed him too far. For a year, everything was peaceful without Rachel in our lives. Then I found out I was pregnant. We weren't even trying, so it was a wonderful surprise. We waited for the right time to tell everyone and decided to announce it at my husband's birthday party. His parents were throwing him a big backyard celebration. Rachel must have heard about the party from someone because she showed up uninvited. She hugged my husband, saying how much she missed him and how sorry she was about their last fight. My husband held my hand and told her she should be apologizing to me since she had questioned my character. Rachel turned to me and apologized, claiming she'd been going to therapy for months and realized how wrong she was to humiliate me. I didn't believe her, but I didn't want to make a scene at my husband's party. His parents checked if we wanted them to ask her to leave, but my husband didn't want any drama. Throughout the party, Rachel was oddly cheerful and positive, completely different from her usual self. She said it was because of therapy, so I tried to give her a chance. When it was time for cake, my husband gave a sweet speech about being lucky to have me. Then we shared our big news. We were expecting a baby. Everyone was overjoyed. My mother cried and hugged me, and my in-laws had tears in their eyes. Everyone was asking about baby names and sharing their excitement. Everyone except Rachel. She looked stunned at first, then angry, and walked away from the group. I worried she might try to ruin another celebration, but I got distracted by all the well wishes. When lunch was served, my family insisted I stay seated and not help with the food. I was waiting for my husband to bring me a plate when Rachel came over, beaming. She handed me a plate of food, announcing loudly that she wanted to serve me personally because she was so happy about my pregnancy. She even said she wanted to make up for being rude in the past. I accepted the plate to be polite, but when I looked down, I saw she had served me shrimp. Everyone knows I'm severely allergic to shrimp. I shook my head, disappointed but not surprised. As I got up to get different food, Marcus came to congratulate me on the pregnancy. When he asked why I wasn't eating, I told him Rachel had accidentally given me shrimp. He offered to take the plate since he liked shrimp, and told me to get a new one. 5 minutes later, Marcus started throwing up. He tried to stand but could barely keep his balance. Everyone stopped eating and stared as my husband and Rachel rushed to help him. Marcus pointed at his throat, then at the plate. We realized something was terribly wrong with the food. Then he fainted. Someone called an ambulance while Rachel cried uncontrollably. She kept looking at me with anger, as if this was my fault. At the hospital, we learned Marcus had been poisoned. I nearly fainted. That plate was meant for me. The poison could have hurt me and my baby. The police took the food as evidence since no one knew what had caused Marcus to faint. That night, my husband and I kept getting calls from relatives asking what happened. My in-laws stayed at our place, too scared to go home. No one knew the truth except me. That plate was originally mine, and Rachel had served it to me. I couldn't sleep that night. My hands shook as I thought about telling everyone. I felt guilty about giving the plate to Marcus, but I was more worried about Rachel. She had tried to poison me, and I didn't feel safe anymore. Finally, I sat down with my husband and in-laws during dinner. I took a deep breath and told them everything. How Rachel brought me the plate with shrimp, and how Marcus ended up eating it instead. My mother-in-law immediately checked their security camera footage. The video clearly showed Rachel giving me the plate, and everything that happened after. My husband was furious. His parents were shocked that their daughter would do something so horrible. They gave the footage to the police right away. When my husband told Marcus what happened, he was stunned. My husband told him he would always be family, no matter what he decided to do about Rachel. Marcus pressed charges and filed for divorce. Rachel called her parents crying, begging them to help. She revealed she was pregnant and tried using that to get their sympathy. But my father-in-law refused, saying she needed to face consequences for her actions. The police found evidence that Rachel had mixed rat poison in the food. She was arrested and charged with food tampering and attempted harm. She tried blaming me, saying I gave Marcus the plate, but it didn't work. She's now in prison. My son doesn't know what his aunt did yet, but my husband and I plan to tell him when he's older. He needs to understand these situations. I'm still going to regular checkups for my pregnancy. We decided not to find out the baby's gender. We want it to be a surprise. My parents know everything and worry about how this affects me. They suggested therapy because I've developed a fear of eating food I haven't prepared myself. My husband understands and supports me through this. 8 months have passed since then. In court, Rachel admitted she was jealous of me for years. She never wanted an outsider to marry her brother. She wanted him to marry one of her friends. When we announced our pregnancy at the party, she was extra angry because she was planning to announce her own pregnancy that day. She claimed pregnancy hormones made her mix rat poison in my food. She said she only wanted to send me to the hospital, not hurt me or the baby. The judge didn't buy her excuses. She's serving her prison sentence now. Marcus is divorced and free from her. We still include him in family activities, and he's assured me many times that what happened wasn't my fault. I cried when he said that because I had been feeling guilty for so long. Now we have a baby girl. Despite everything that happened, our daughter brings us joy. Our son loves being a big brother and adores his little sister. Watching them together makes all the hard times worth it. My in-laws and parents have helped us through everything, and we're finally at peace without Rachel in our lives. Looking back, I never imagined my sister-in-law would try to poison me. But now I know that some people are capable of terrible things when they're consumed by jealousy. We're just grateful that everyone is safe, and our family is stronger without her toxic presence.